Alright guys, in this video we're going to teach you how to set up Slay the Spire the board game using our brand new collector's edition. So let's pop off this box and get into it. You're going to find the Act 1 board. There's going to be two different boards available. One is the Act 2, Act 3 board, and then there's the Act 1 board, which has two different sides that you can play on. There's no particular difference. It just has slightly different routes throughout it to be able to play through, and just can play a little bit differently. Pick which side you're going to play on, it really doesn't matter, and make sure that board is going to be available to all players throughout the game. You want to have an act play area that's going to have all of the cards associated with the act that you're currently playing on. If you have the collector's edition, it comes with this fancy little mat that you can just put down in that general area, and then you're going to have nice tracking of all of those. But if you don't have the mat, you could just have an area about 2 cards wide by 4 cards long. The next card is the event tracker or combat round tracker. Tells you all the icons, all the symbology, and tells you how to play through the different rounds. On the other side of it is the shop. So throughout the game, you're going to have to, whenever you enter a shop token, which we'll go over later, these will flip over, and then you'll see the shop, and you'll populate and play the shop. But most of the time, you're going to want it on this side so you can reference and see what all the different things do. Now, if you got it from the Kickstarter, this is really handy little shop mat that you can place down just below that event card, and then you have the shop separated from it. As this is likely your first time playing the game, you're going to want to grab the Act 1 deck of cards. Take out the first encounters from the top of that and leave them off to the side, and then you're going to want to separate out the different symbols. So there are 4 different symbols available in this deck. Separate those out and create them into each pile. If you have this mat, it shows you where to put them, but generally you're going to have a straight line of these cards available to you. Separate this deck into order of Act 1 monsters, Act 1 summons, Act 1 elite monsters, and Act 1 events. The Days deck is this deck of purple cards. It goes down just below where you're going to put down your Act 1 monsters. Find the deck of status cards. You got the green and the red, also called the burn pile. These are all the exact same, so just place them down face up in the burn pile area, right beside those stun cards. Find the curse cards, shuffle them up, and place them down beside the burn pile. You want these face down so that you don't know which one you're going to draw. Next up, find the token tray from the pack, remove the lid, and put it in your play area. Find the Meow deck, which has this little blue whale on it and has the large whale face on the other side. Shuffle this deck up and make sure that it's available to players somewhere where they can reach by early in the game. Find these small little cards and separate them out by color. You're going to want to create a different pile by each of the different colors. Got your boss treasures, your regular treasures, your potions, and your prismatic cards. Then you're going to want to shuffle each of those decks. Each of these piles should be readily available, and each player should be able to reach out to them, but you could have one central banker in charge of all of this, deciding the number of players that you're going to be playing with, and which characters each player is going to represent. Then take the appropriate character cards that you've chosen and place them in your player board area. If you don't have the player mats, just make sure these are in the center of each player's play zone. Each hero has 3 different types of decks. They're going to have their starter deck, which is the starting set of cards they have when you first start Act 1 of the game. Place that pile in a draw pile available to you beside your player board. Next up, they're going to have a card rewards deck. These are all of the basic card rewards that your character can get playing throughout the game. Make sure the card reward pile is placed somewhere nearby available to you to start playing the game. You're going to be regularly drawing from that pile, so make sure it's available, but you also don't want it in the way of your active play area. You're also going to have a rare rewards deck. These are special, stronger cards that you get much less often throughout the game. Take your rare rewards and place them beside your other card rewards. To set up your player boards, take red tokens and put them on the starting location of 3 energy, 0 block, and the maximum of that character's HP. Then place that in the center of each player's play area, or if you have these handy mats, right in that play area zone. Place the boss and elite monster health tracker token close by, near to where your actual map is at, so you can line it up to the appropriate monsters. Take the player tokens that you have representing each character and decide which player is going to go first, and take the brunt of the damage, and then line your other players up. You can swap this order up throughout the game to swap out vulnerable players into more defensible positions and have stronger players up in the front lines. Make sure the dice is readily available to your first player that you've set up. Take the boot marker and place it down at the bottom of the map. That's where the players are going to start. Next up, we're going to need these little gray markers, so pull them all out and shuffle them up. Take these gray event tokens and line them up in lines based off of the symbols that are available on the actual playboard. Once lined up with the appropriate colors, flip them up and cover the appropriate spot with each one. These are going to give us our random nodes for our playthrough map. This now gives us our path that we're going to take to get up to the boss and gives you your different options of what you're going to encounter. This will allow every gameplay to be a little bit different. Shuffle the first encounter's deck and place one of each of those encounters in each row of players. If you have extra players, you put one in each row. Pick which boss that you want to play against for this particular playthrough. You can take the die and roll it to decide on a boss based off the number on the die will decide on which boss, or you can just pick one of the bosses that you feel like battling in this particular playthrough. Place the boss at the top of the board. With everything ready, take the Niao deck and deal one Niao card out to each player. So shuffle that up and give each player one of these cards. The players will then look at those cards and decide what they're going to do of the actions available to them for their random start in this game. With that, you have everything you need to know to set up to play this game. Join us next time for our first playthrough. I'm Zesty, Phresh, this is Boardgames, and we'll catch you guys next time.